It's time now for the Todd Leonard Show. Leave those negative stories behind as we focus on the positive and hear from those who give back and help others. Let's start your day with some inspirational stories. Now, here's your host, Todd Leonard.
Good morning, everyone. I was getting ready today, and I was thinking about, it was 4th of July holiday weekend, and I was thinking about our veterans, the folks that are active duty members, the incredible brave men and women of our military. And I was thinking about the 4th of July, and freedom comes at a cost, so we should never take for granted. When we see people that are in the military or come back stateside, say thank you. Say God bless you for what you're doing and your families, because it is an incredible amount of sacrifice these incredible brave men and women, in fact, basically protect us any moment, any time. So God bless those folks, and I dedicate the show today. And I was thinking about, it's 4th of July weekend, and I love the military. And I found out about a young man named Tom Tice in Warriors Stronger. We're going to go on a journey with Tom today. We're going to go into his life and kind of what brought him to create Warriors Strong 7 years ago, his love for the military. And what a better time to say thank you and have a guest like Tom Tice. And we're going to talk about physical fitness and bringing the veterans, basically helping them, giving them a hand up, and even the active service members. His incredible program has been actually helping and healing our proud warriors. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Todd. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Tom, I was just telling you before we started the show how I heard about you, and I was like, oh my God, let me learn more about Tom. And you're only 30, so it's pretty incredible the journey you're already on. And you're a handsome young man. You got your Warrior Strong regalia on, your cap, your shirt. And for the folks that can't see Tom, and shout out on Facebook and everybody watching will be watching on YouTube, he's a handsome specimen in incredible shape, but he's got all the regalia on. So Tom, on the journey of giving back, it gives really a platform for me to put the spotlight on those making a difference.
Okay.
Those that are basically doing something right when no one's looking and helping the world and making it better. And it's a real honor today to have you on. So Tom, for the listeners, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Roxbury, New Jersey, right here in Morris County. And I grew up my entire life in Roxbury. Went to high school there, went to college at Morris County Community College, and then finished up at William Patterson. So I'm, right here in Morris County. I'm from Roxbury. I love being from where I'm from. It's a beautiful part of the state, and it's a great community.
It is. Tom, I've had a number of people from the Roxbury area on. Steve Alford. Talk about a guy like 5-time Rotarian president.
Yeah.
He's the one that said, you got to bring Tom Tice on.
Yeah.
And when Steve Alford, a guy like that pedigree vouches, kindness for Christopher started out of this great area. And one thing about Roxbury, which is really, I think, a beautiful part of it, is it's such a close-knit community. I've never seen a local community. Reminds me back when I grew up in Springfield, New Jersey, in Union County. Everybody kind of pulls for each other.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, they're there in a heartbeat. Someone's sick, they're there. So you're very fortunate to grow up in such a great community.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned, and maybe I'm a little jealous, I don't know, I'm almost twice your age, so you just turned 30, and happy birthday. But, in the trajectory of life, it's important to kind of talk a little bit about where you came from in terms of, I understand you had some labels attached to you as a young person. And that was the other thing, too, about labels are dangerous, because people, unless it's a good label, but if anything, the label doesn't really make sense, you got to kick it to the side. So what was it like growing up? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was labeled, I had ADHD, ADD at the time, dyslexic. I was in special education from pretty much the 3rd grade on, and I knew that I was being labeled and I was different from other students who were attending, grammar school, middle school, high school. And I was always a little bit on the shorter side. I didn't really grow until I think after high school. But those labels, they can really define who you are, but it's up to you not to allow them to define who you are. You make what you're supposed to be out of yourself. But it takes time to even get to that point. So I lived in a world, my first, I would say all through high school and grammar school, middle school, of being defined by what the school system told me I was, dyslexic, special education student, ADD, ADHD. I let those labels define who I was, and I didn't really get to start living till after I wanted to drop those labels. And I didn't drop those labels until I transferred out of County College of Morris, to be honest. CCM, I just didn't want those labels anymore. And CCM had this program where if you're a special education student, you can transfer your IEP over to your community college and use the resources, which are not a bad thing. And I think if you're a student with an IEP, you should definitely use those benefits to your advantage if it's going to help you be a better human person. Or you can be like me and decide, I'm willing to drop all those benefits and resources to really truly test myself and become a better person, and not let those labels define who I am.
So, Tom, first of all, I've been accused of a lot of things. Being tall has never been one of them.
For sure.
So, I know growing up, I obviously was, I never was tall, but I was always scrappy.
Yeah.
But, labels are, like we were just discussing, it's important to understand how they might impact you. For a lot of listeners, they may have children that have an IEP or have, children that are labeled, but labels that or negative or dangerous.
Yep.
But, I also read, in getting ready for the show, that your mom is such an important, obviously I miss my late parents every day. It's beyond words. But I know, a mother's love is so important in your life. I understand your mother wasn't putting up with that either. She instilled some things. What did she instill in you?
My mom's tough. She taught all of us. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and to never give up, never quit. Work hard, and if there's something you believe in, go for it. Don't let other people stop you or other things get in your way, and to achieve that mission of what you want to get through and get to that goal. She signed me up to college. I didn't even want to go to school. My mom dragged me to County College of Morris and signed me up. She's like, "You're going to school and you're going to study exercise science." I was like, sure, I'll do it. I didn't really want to go, but I did it. And she was really someone that really encouraged me to move forward and take a risk and go for things that maybe I wouldn't be able to do. So, it's nice. Both of my parents, when I went on this journey to start this organization, they've been very supportive of not just me, but everyone who's been part of it, which is nice because it's just not me. I'm not the only person that does everything for Warrior Strong. There's a whole team behind it, and it's nice to see my parents support everyone who's part of it.
Yeah, and and we're going to get to all that, Tom. I just thought it'd be important for all of us to understand kind of where you started, because in life, it doesn't matter where you start. It's like, okay, folks go through adversity, whatever it might be, personally, academically, whatever, but you have been able, through a lot of love and support and also belief in yourself. And that's also part of the Todd Leonard Show journey, giving back, is hopefully to motivate and inspire folks. So for those listening, like I said, it doesn't matter what people say about you. It's what you believe in yourself.
For sure.
There's a lot of people hear the outside noise. It's what's inside of you, and no one knows really what's inside of you.
Yeah.
Only you do.
Self-talk is huge. Going back into college, my first semester at County College of Morris, I was taking 4 classes. I was failing all 4 classes after October. And I remember getting a letter in the mail from County College of Morris saying, if you're looking at an F in all your classes and you should probably withdraw so it's not on your transcript. And I was determined to pass all those classes.
What made you, Tom, what made you just inside, you're going through obviously a hard time. You went from being in a structured environment in high school through an IEP, and you're like, I want to make a go of it without any extra help. And you obviously recognized like you had some issues you had to overcome. What made you decide? Because once again, for all of us, we have times. I know when I was in college, there were some classes that were doozies, and even in law school, I was very blessed to become a lawyer, follow my dad's footsteps. But there were some classes like these are hard classes.
Sure.
Am I going to make it? So what made you through? How'd you get through it?
I'll tell you what, the scariest thing, I had great professors. I wanted to drop the labels. I wanted to do my thing. I wanted to push myself to a different kind of level. I really believed in myself. And as I was taking my prereqs to take Anatomy 1 and Anatomy 2, which everyone at CCM says those are the two hardest classes at the school. And I'm like, geez, how am I going to do this, right? How am I going to pass these hardest, these are the hard classes here, and I have to get them. It was Bio 1, Anatomy 1, Anatomy 2, and Chemistry. And I didn't take really any sciences in high school. I took 3 years of math, maybe. I didn't push myself in high school, and when I went to County College of Morris, I was very late in the learning game. I think because I let those labels define who I am, I didn't live up to any higher expectations of myself. So I kind of dropped those labels, went into county, and I'll be honest, I failed Anatomy 1. I failed it. I saw it through. My professor was like, you should probably withdraw. I'm like, no, I want to see it through. I know I'm going to fail, but I want to see it through. I knew I was going to take it again.
Well, what do you think made you get through that?
Just the will to, I didn't want to quit, and I didn't want to fail. So I knew that failing was an option, but it wasn't the end game for me.
So you basically would not quit. And I know your mom was so supportive of you, your family, and your brothers, and you have a sister. God bless you for a great family. So I understand fitness became like really important in your life. And I was joking with you a little bit before we started. I work out. I'm not in the great shape like you, but I have to say, though, I didn't have a late dinner, which was important, and I worked out, last 2 days in a row to get ready for the show.
Love it.
Some people say I have a face for radio. Who knows? But the point is that I know I feel better when I work out. When did you realize that exercise is important?
When I was 20, I was going to school to be exercise science. I was an exercise science major, and, I was getting into the field of health and wellness. And, I didn't really believe in the gym specifically when I was 16, 17, 18, even 19. I thought it was boring. I was a scrawny kid. I only weighed, going into the gym, I was like 5'9", 125 pounds. And then when I was 20, 21, 22, I became obsessed with the gym, and I was learning about it in school. I was working out, and I learned the mental clarity of what the gym gave me. Not just, it wasn't just physical, but it was emotional. It was mental health. I was clear. I felt like I could do more in life. Confidence. When I was working out and I was leaving a gym, it sounds crazy, but I felt very smart. And my entire life, I thought I was the dumbest person in the room. But after I walked out of a room, after I walked out of the gym, I was like, I can do anything.
It's interesting, too. I joke with my office. I walk in, I say, watch out, I worked out this morning. I'm feeling pretty smart. But it's true with the endorphins, and it elevates your mood. I was out with my family, and we're out with a great bunch of friends recently on Friday night. And I was talking to my friend John. He's very successful, owns a tremendous local landscaping company. He works out every day. Mm-hmm. And I say, John, how do you do this? He works all day sometimes. He comes home and works out at night because he's got to do it.
You got to do it.
And I know that, it makes his life better because it grounds you. And I guess from everything you went through as a young person, you realize the importance of really basically for your own mental health and your physical health to working out. So let's talk about your time at Picatinny Arsenal.
Yep.
I know you started there in 2014, if I recall.
Yep.
And you got a job there as a civilian. So Picatinny Arsenal, for the folks, is a local base, right? And it's, right off, I think, Route 15.
Yep.
And there's a lot of incredible, men and women in our armed forces, either active or obviously, veterans. How'd you get involved with Picatinny Arsenal?
So the girl I was dating at the time, her mother worked at the Arsenal, and they were looking for somebody to work at the gym, MWR. And I was like, you know what, I'll apply and work at a gym. I need some of that experience on my resume, start working in a fitness industry. I was trying to get a job at any gym, but good thing I didn't get a job at any gym. I landed up at Picatinny Arsenal and started working with their MWR department and working their fitness center, the Forge Fitness Center. And then I also picked up work at the outdoor recreation, started working with men and women in uniform, and I was inspired to be part of their community, because even though I was a civilian working at their fitness center and outdoor recreation, you did still feel that connectivity to them and their service and their family, and making sure that, not that my job was super hard or anything like that, but just being there and being part of their day was important.
Were you around anybody in the military before you took this job at Picatinny Arsenal?
No, I never even saw anybody in uniform, really.
So what was that experience? Can you tell us, you walk into Picatinny Arsenal, obviously it's a secure military base. Yeah. You're coming in as a civilian, and then obviously you have the armed force, the men and women, you know. And what was that feeling like?
It was a little scary, because I didn't want to do anything wrong. And the first couple weeks I was driving too fast on one of the main roads there, and it was drill weekend for Gulf Company, I think, the Marine Corps. And they were rucking down the road, and I was going pretty fast, and this guy was leading his team through their ruck or whatever the exercise was, and he's yelling at me. He's got his hand up, and I'm like,
it's like a Marine.
Yeah, this is it. They're in full gear.
Yeah, sure.
And he puts his hand up, and I'm like, and he's like, slow down, and he didn't say that nicely.
I bet he did not.
No,
just in case my boys are listening, we're going to keep it PG. But they were not too happy. He wasn't too happy. They
weren't happy, but I was like, whoa, this is legit here. So it was cool. I mean, honestly, working with men and women in uniform, it's like working with anybody else. Just have respect for them and for what they do, and help them where you can. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. It's a different world when you're in uniform, when you're in the civilian life. So I got a very small taste of what it's like to work with men and women in uniform, because I was a civilian working on civilian side of things, helping men and women in uniform. But I am lucky to have that experience, because it opened up my eyes to a different world that I probably would have never got to experience.
Right. So, for all of us, I love the military. And once again, that's why I'm so proud to have you on today with, Tom Tice of Warrior Strong. But I know friends that are in active duty or were in active duty. And I always tell them how, blessed I am to know them and how proud I am that they're my friends, because I think it's wonderful what they do. But I wasn't like in an environment where there's a lot of folks that are in the military. Was there a misconception you had that as you started to get to know them better, that was like kind of dispelled?
No, I guess not with the active duty personnel. But the one thing I learned while I was there and I was there for 4 years, is the transition of, okay, here's my buddy Rob that I've known for the last 2 years. Oh, Rob's going to Texas now. He's going to another base across the country, and he comes in the gym. He says, "Goodbye, man. Hopefully I'll see you again. If not, it was great knowing you." That kind of took me by surprise. I really like this guy, Rob, and now he's got orders to go to Texas, Fort Worth, and that's it. I never saw him again.
Yeah.
So I do think, and like I said, I had a small taste of what it was like, but I can't imagine if you met one of your best friends, in boot camp or going to one of your deployment stations together, and then you guys are going to two different places across the country or across the world. It's a wake up call, because you go to college with your friends, and most likely you'll either keep hanging around with them, or they're not going to go anywhere every year, every 2 years kind of thing. And it was kind of weird that, I had great relationships with some folks for a couple of years, and then I never saw them again.
Right. So so Tom, back when you first started, you were Picatinny Arsenal for 4 years in their fitness department there.
Yeah.
Were you coming in contact with these warriors that are becoming actually physically disabled? They lose a limb or some other physical disability? We'll get to the mental aspects in a minute, but were you working with some of these incredible warriors?
Yeah, I mean, we saw, everybody. So, those who have prosthetics, those who are in chairs. I've been lucky to work with World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans. One thing when you do is if you're medically retired or retired from the military, you have access to all these bases, so you can use all their facilities. So I was able to learn and know a lot of retired veterans from all wars, World War II, the Korean War. I met this guy, I don't know if he's still alive, but he's from Roxbury, New Jersey, and he served in the Korea War, and his name was Kenny, lived in Kenville, and he was a Marine Corps veteran, served in Korea, got shot twice, and he was just an awesome guy. And if I never worked at Picatinny, I probably would have never met him or heard his story before. And he said, I love being part of this community. I mean, I don't know how long he was in the Marine Corps. I don't know if he was retired as soon as he came back home, but he kept coming back to Picatinny for that community. Maybe not just for me, but for all the other veterans that were going to that military base and using the fitness center and stuff like that in the commissary. So, yeah, I mean, I've been able to work with a lot of special folks, and they all come in all different sizes, shapes, colors, whatever.
Well, that's awesome what you're doing, Tom. And for the listeners, because I want to have a number of shout-outs for Warrior Strong.
Yeah, for sure.
You got a great website. How do folks that are tuning in today, if they either want to volunteer with Warrior Strong or donate, how do they reach you guys?
So, find us on the web, warriorstronginc.org, or on Instagram, Warrior Strong Inc., Facebook, YouTube. We're on TikTok, I think. I don't even know if that's legal still, but we're on TikTok.
I'm not even on TikTok yet. Look at you guys. You're rocking it out.
I'm trying. And LinkedIn. And if you want to volunteer, go on our website. We have a volunteer tab. Fill out the application. Katie Schwab, our volunteer team leader, will follow up with you. If you'd like to donate, you can donate on our website as well. PayPal, Venmo. We take it all. We've been doing this for about 7 years. We're a trusted organization.
Yeah, you guys are wonderful. Like I said, I did a little more research, and it's just an outstanding organization. And you mentioned something too, Tom, which is one of the reasons why I love doing the show, is the importance of community.
Yeah.
And how people should feel part of their community. I think that's what's really missing. Why I love doing the shows. Hopefully I'll motivate and inspire folks. Say, listen, whatever community you're in, you should give back. You should get involved and help others. But you got yourself into the world of the veteran community, active duty community. What's that like, the community, the camaraderie? What's that like for us?
I mean, like I said, I had a small taste of it. It's incredible. When I worked at Picatinny, it was the first time I really felt like I was a part of something, even though I was on the outside looking in, right? I did get that great sense of purpose of being part of this community and having that sense of camaraderie. And that I only worked at, the Ford Fitness Center and outdoor recreation. And I was working with more of the families and servicemen and women that were actively serving there. But I felt like, they depended on me to do my job so they can do theirs. So I did feel like I was finally part of something bigger than myself in that community, even though I was a civilian working on the civilian side of things. And it was special. And then, as I was growing in MWR and helping more and more. I got to work with more men and women in uniform, and I got to really build those nice relationships with those men and women who currently serve, and who served our country. And I didn't want to take that for granted. So it was awesome.
So from what I understand, it opened your eyes, right,
Yeah.
to really the military and what they stand for.
Yeah.
This is another example. People get caught up. They watch these movies.
Yeah.
They watch a TV show. But you're actually seeing it firsthand. See, this is the other thing I mentioned even before we started the show. I love, like, the real deal people, the authenticity, not the posers, not the people that are just there to get a little pat on the back, but you're basically lifting up, and you're kind of basically in with these incredible folks, and it opened your eyes. But one of the striking thing that I also heard is you met this Colonel Ivy in 2016. Tell us a little bit about that experience, how it might inform and shape the rest of your life.
Colonel Ivy, great guy. Like I said, I don't know where he is today. I think we're friends on LinkedIn. I should probably send him a message, but awesome guy. High-ranking military official at the time at Picatinny. He was a solid dude, humble, nice guy.
Which branch did he serve?
He served in the Army.
All right.
He might be still serving. I don't know where he is right now. He probably is. And one day he comes up to the gym. He's like, we were friends. He's like, hey, I want you to come to this, suicide prevention training. I'm like, all right, cool. I assume I wasn't going to be the only civilian going in there, but I go in this auditorium. It's all men and women in uniform. I'm standing next to Colonel Ivy. I'm like, dude, why am I here? I'm in shorts and a T-shirt. He's like, just sit down and, you sit next to me or whatever. So I went in there, did the suicide prevention training, listened to the speakers, and then Colonel Ivy spoke about how he lost more men and women stateside than he did overseas on his deployments, and how important it is to stay connected with your community, how important it is to ask for help and get the services that you need. And I walked out of there and I was like, wow, like, there's a lot more going on stateside than, we know there's a war and there's men and women being lost overseas, but I think we've lost more men and women to mental health, suicide and as veterans and armed service members here stateside than we did overseas. And it's alarming. So I walked out of there and I'm like, dude, we got to do something. I can't just, I felt like I was part of the community. I felt like I had to do something. I felt like, wow, how can I help? If it's just one person, how can I help that one person see another day?
Yeah, I read, Tom, so sadly and so tragically, is 22 of these incredible heroes are committing suicide every day. And that's one of the reasons why, when I was thinking of having you come on the show, if you could reach one person, it could change so many lives. So many families end up becoming shattered. Did you even put any thought before Colonel Ivy invited you to the suicide awareness prevention program about the alarming statistics?
Not really. No, I actually just wanted to help, and I knew what health and wellness did to me, what the positivity it brought to my life, and I thought... So
you were there, and you listened to Colonel Ivy, and from what I gather, this is like earth-shattering almost, in the sense it put the spotlight right on such an important and tragic issue going on right now, which our great American country, we live in the greatest country in the world, but a lot of people don't reflect on this, and we all together should try to help the veterans, to help them and lift them up. But what was interesting is you said you wanted to do something because you listened to what was going on, and for a lot of folks, they know there's a need. The question is action. Are you going to do something about it? Because a lot of folks hear about a problem, but they don't roll up their sleeves. But you knew, from what I'm gathering, that there's something you could bring to help these proud, incredible veterans. What did you come up with?
Came up with Warrior Strong, just free health and wellness programs for veterans, veteran family members, and first responders we serve now. But, at the time when I came up with the idea, I recently dropped out of college at William Patterson. All I had to do was my student teaching, and I dropped out because I couldn't pass the exam. And at the time, I really had nothing going for me. I started working at Picatinny, and I was working full time there. And I heard Colonel Ivy's story and what he spoke about. I said, you know what? I want to do this. I can do this. I want to do this. And just started working on this idea of helping veterans get into fitness, any kind of fitness. And I'll talk about later on the show what we do currently.
Yeah, we're going to do that, Tom. That's an incredible segue.
Yeah.
We're going to be back in 30 seconds with Tom Tice of Warrior Strong. Come back in 30 seconds.
The Todd Leonard Show is sponsored by the Leonard Foundation, whose mission is to support the children and families who are battling pediatric cancer and those in need of food and assistance, women's shelters, and other important social services in the community. They also proudly support those fighting pancreatic cancer. They feel it's vitally important to help those in need in our amazing community when they need us the most. Please join them in extending a helping hand and go to leonardcharity.org and donate now. Together, we can touch many lives.
Welcome back. So, Tom, we were just talking about how this idea germinated. I know you're going through some things academically, and you're working full-time at Picatinny. You obviously became exposed to a need. And you started to let this idea go into your head. Hey, wait a minute. I can take my knowledge, my love for fitness, because I know what I'm getting out of it. And you started. And tell us because for the folks that, are thinking about doing whatever they want to do in life.
Right.
Because I always say, follow your dream. Take your gifts, whatever they are.
Right.
Because everybody has different gifts in life. Some people are tremendously into fitness. Some are just incredibly smart. They can solve problems. Some can fix things. Some just have a ton of money and they can donate their money.
For sure.
Some are mentors. Some can actually lift people up. Something about their words and voice, elevate the message and give people hope. But with you, I know you love the fitness and you started this idea. So what happened next?
So I wrote all my ideas down on paper, pitched it to a couple Marines that I was working with at Picatinny, one being a longtime friend, Rob Bracero. And I said, hey, I want to do this, but I want to do this with veterans. I don't want to be the only one doing it, and I want veterans involved because I think peer-to-peer, veterans helping veterans is huge. So I pitched this idea up. I created a whole business plan, marketing plan. I never went to school for business or marketing or nothing.
You had no experience at all.
Yeah.
Just for all the listeners, Tom, I have to say, respect to you, man. You're like, I want to do it, but candidly, you didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, no, Google's awesome. Take advantage of the web because you can do anything on Google. They'll teach you and show you and guide you to reach your goals. I didn't go to school for any of this, and the best way of learning is through experience and just going for it. And that's what we did. So I pitched this idea. I built a whole business plan, marketing plan, portfolio, budget, and I pitched it to these two Marines, and they're like, this is all.
Mention one, Rob. Who's the other Marine?
John Schaefer.
Well, shout out to these guys too. This is incredible.
Yeah, and we got great response from them. They're like, yeah, we want to help you. We want you to be, do this, and we'll support you and we'll help you grow. So I was like, awesome. So ever since then, in 2016, when they said they were on board, I really felt like this is real now. I got two Marines that are jumping on board with me. People who did multiple deployments overseas. They have the experience. They're combat vets. They know what PTSD is, TBI. They know what the struggle is coming back home and how they can reach and get help. So I was like, this is great. We can have these veterans mentor other veterans and then help me flourish this idea of getting veterans health and wellness activities and programs. It was remarkable from having an idea that was on paper to then by the end of 2017 to starting to see that idea come off paper and actually make impact in the community.
So for the listeners, Tom, which I think is so important, is you had an idea, you knew there was a need, and you didn't know how to do it, but something inside spoke to you that even though I've never done it before, you felt compelled, right?
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from? Do you ever look back now 7 years later and say, I don't know, was there anything that just like made you gravitate to it? Like, I got to do it.
I think like I've always respected the military community and I always wanted to give back, just never knew how. Didn't have the money. I was a broke college kid. So I knew I couldn't make any sort of donation of any sort. And I actually had the time and I had, not much going for myself except wanting to help others. That's why I was going into being a phys ed teacher, was I wanted to help.
Why do you think you wanted to help others? Where'd that come from?
Because I think there was people that helped me along the way, and I felt like I owed it to them to help others too. And I think that's the biggest thing. When someone gives you a helping hand, make sure you pay that helping hand forward to somebody else too. It's a chain reaction. And I've had many great people like my parents, my mom, professors in college, some in high school, that really believed in me. And it just takes one person. I've had teachers tell me that I was going to be nothing in life. It's crazy that they're in some of these schools.
Well, hold on now. So this once again, that's alarming to me.
Yeah.
Teachers should motivate. If you have, let's say, a disability, they should still motivate you that you could still become successful. Yeah. And we're not going to curse on the show, but to those, whoever said that to you, I mean, I'm sure nothing's better than just like, hey, listen, check me out now, right?
Yeah.
You have to do it quietly, though. You just do your thing.
Yeah. I just keep moving forward. I mean, Rob Bracero, he's been a long time friend of me. He's our chairman of the board. And he always tells me, it's like, hey man, you see what you're doing, and, you're helping so many vets, and he's a veteran helping vets. And
how many veterans do you think you helped, Tom, since you started?
Oh man, that we got connected, that used our services, probably a couple hundred.
What's the beautiful part of that is because of what you started, you're changing lives. And let's talk about, one of your mantras and one of the reasons why, the mission. It's important to have a mission. Now, ironically, because you're working with the military, they have a mission, right? They have objectives, and they must reach that mission. But I know that one of the things that your organization stands for, and Warrior Strong, I mean, incredible, you're helping them find community and camaraderie through health and wellness to overcome the sense of detachment, disconnection, and isolation when they come back stateside, back to civilian life, because there's a big adjustment, right, from what you've seen.
Huge.
What do you see when you're there? And no pun intended, the boots are on the ground.
For sure.
You see that. What do you see?
I mean, the conversations, I see the community coming together, the veteran community coming together to work out to better themselves, right? Because that's the mission, in life. You always continue to better yourself. Your journey doesn't end when you get out of uniform, when you get out of service. You're on to the next thing. Even when you retire, when you stop being a lawyer, say, right, Todd? You got to continue that mission of bettering yourself. My grandfather's 93. And he's still working out in his yard.
God bless him.
And he's bettering himself, even though he fell the other day. He just got back up.
Is he all right at least?
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
He's scrappy. He sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah, he don't quit. He'll die in his backyard, I think. That's okay, though. He'll be happy.
His time, man.
Yeah. So, but my point is the community, the camaraderie, the sense of, having that someone that you can relate to, having a conversation. We have our yoga instructor is a combat veteran. He did 2 deployments in Iraq. He gives other veterans that come to our classes piece of advice.
You talking about Chris Smith?
Talking about Chris Smith, yeah. I mean, he's
got him on my notes here. You're hitting it all. So.
Yeah, he's
what's
remarkable.
That like? So, he's a combat vet, and
he's a vegan.
For the listeners, I don't want to show off, But as a serious talk, I can almost touch my toes. Sometimes I
that's
carry
awesome.
on. That's what I know about yoga.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's tough, man.
It's difficult.
It's incredibly difficult. I never did yoga in my life until I saw that it could be helpful to the community. And I said, you know what? I'll give it a try. My good friend Bridget Smith, and now it's Bridget Cisco, is one of our yoga and breathwork instructors here in Morris County. She got me involved in yoga, and she encouraged me to provide that service to the veteran community, which then I met this gentleman. Do you want me to go into the Chris Smith story?
Well, tell us a little bit about Chris Smith.
So Chris Smith did 9 years in the Army. He's from Pennsylvania. He comes from a military family. He got out in 2009. Unfortunately, lost lost his family, got divorced, became homeless, and then got back on his feet, went to school at Marywood University, got his degree in nutrition and dietetics, got the job to become the veteran service officer for Veteran Affairs at the school to help veterans get their, use their GI Bill and stuff like that. So he started working for the University of Marywood once he finished his degree. He actually helped that school get a veterans house, veterans center on campus. He wrote a grant to Home Depot, and they won the grant out of a couple hundred schools, and helped that school get a veterans home and center on their campus in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And once he became the veteran liaison officer over there for Veteran Affairs and stuff like that, he came across a program called Warrior Strong back in 2018. We were only a year young. And he says, hey, man, I'm the veteran, liaison officer for veteran students on campus. I'd love to learn more about your program, this, and that. And at the time, he never did yoga before. He was just a vegan, which, yogis and vegans make sense. So he came to one of our first classes. He brought his significant other at the time, his 3 kids, and they all came to class, and he's like, dude, I love this. And at the time, we were only offering classes every other Saturday because that's all we could afford.
Started out really humbly, right?
Oh, yeah. We started with nothing. We were doing more work for the veteran community than we actually had in our bank account. I remember calling the banks and be like, they're taking money from us because we didn't have enough money in the bank account. When you just start off, you only have $25 in the account and you need to have at least $100. Well, that's a $15 fine. So I remember calling Bank of America and be like, yo, we need that $15 back, dude. We got to. Yeah.
So Chris Smith is there. I mean, he sounds like an incredible person. What an inspirational story.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, folks like that. I mean, I also learned that you guys also help the first responder community too. And I have so much love for the first responders. I'm part of the 200 Club right here in Morris County.
Nice.
Because we also can't say enough for our first responders. The men, the police, the firefighters, the EMTs. They put it on the line every day too for us.
Yep.
And that's wonderful. Why do you feel it's important also with the first responders?
Well, to be honest, we learned that a lot of veterans do serve in their community as firemen, police, EMTs. They continue giving back to their communities through that way. And I said, why not? We had our first couple of veterans were police officers. And we're like, it probably makes sense to help police officers and firemen and EMTs. And even since COVID, we opened our doors to nurses too, just because what they went through and they do.
Nurses are angels. I mean, we talk about also during COVID, I think the world also realized
how important.
More and more how important the nurse, no disrespect to the doctors, but the nurses, they're on the front lines.
Yeah.
And I had a few folks come on, some nursing and some other folks that are in that area, but God bless those folks too.
Yeah. So, that's kind of why we did it, was just because they're doing what, our military does at a certain extent on state side, helping our communities. And we said, what, let's offer these services to them as well. Why not? Let's help them.
No doubt about it. So you were telling me about, I love stories because it kind of gets me all juiced up and motivated too. Ernie. Talk to me about Ernie.
So Earl.
I'm sorry, Earl. I could have been name changed. Earl. Tell us about Earl.
So Earl Granville, he's from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and we started this organization in Scranton, PA. It's a long story why we started there. I'm not going to get into it, but it was my decision to start in Scranton. And he lives in Scranton, and I found him on Instagram one day. He's highly motivated, inspirational veteran, and he's well known across the country. And I couldn't believe that he was from Scranton, PA. I was like, this guy's from Scranton, PA. He just so happened to be, that's where we started Warrior Strong. And this was back in 2018. So I sent him a direct message on Instagram, and I said, hey, my name's Tom Tice. Thank you for your service. I appreciate everything you've been doing for.
You didn't know the guy.
I didn't know the guy.
Just out of nowhere.
I didn't.
Trying to be like me. That's why I get some guests on.
Yeah.
Heck, listen, I do the show. Come on down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. And I sent him a text, a long one, kinda. And he followed up. He's like, hey, man, thank you for the nice text. Let me know if you ever want to link up. So I was like, I do want to link up. Like, let's go out for lunch. I'm in Scranton, you know, once or twice a month. Like, let's connect. Went out to lunch. I told him about the Warrior Strong idea, and he's like, dude, I want to help you. And I was like, all right, awesome. A little bit about this guy, Earl, and I don't want to share his story, but you can go and find him on YouTube. Just type in Earl Granville, or on Google. And he lost his leg in Afghanistan, but his story is so much more than that. He is so much more than that. And what he does for the veteran community and just everybody in general is so inspiring, so motivating. He just doesn't help the veteran community. He helps everybody with his story. His story is very impactful, and the way that he can relay his message to anybody in the room is truly incredible. I've gotten to speak with him in elementary schools to big events to all adults. He's a remarkable human being, and he's been through a lot in life, but he shows that you can go through adversity and get to that other side and still do good for
God
others.
bless Earl Granville. And so I know that with Earl, you have a tremendous relationship with him now. And this is just to digress briefly. This is the other beauty of people.
Yeah.
If you ask someone, you'd be surprised. Yeah. The positive response you get. Now, there's a few skunks out there. There's people out there that are just going to blow you off. But there's a lot of kind people out there that if you reach out in a nice way, of course, they'll actually connect with you. It's kind of remarkable, obviously, how you present yourself. But so you got to know Earl. Now, I know you're a runner, and you know, I know running's really important in your life. Yeah. I know you've done, you know, various long distance runs. Yeah. Okay. I've never done a marathon. It was on my bucket list.
Should do it.
Fell out my bucket list.
You can do it.
I want to do it back. You know, I got to figure out, but you got to train for it. It's no joke. Yeah. But tell me about you, and you ran a marathon. Who'd you run the marathon with?
I ran the Chicago Marathon with Earl Granville. He invited me.
Now, that's awesome. Now, I want to understand this. So Earl, unfortunately, does have, you know, he
has a prosthetic leg,
prosthetic leg. So you're going to run
above the knee, which is a big difference between below the knee.
Why is that?
Because below the knee, you still have your knee, so your leg still bends, versus above the knee, you have to rotate your hips to run a little bit. You have to swing your leg through because you don't have that bend in your knee because you don't have a knee. So there's a little bit of a difference. Not that
Have you ever done a marathon before?
I never ran a marathon.
So I want to make sure. So Earl Granville, God bless him, and a tremendous hero. He invites you to do a Chicago marathon. Now, you've never done a marathon before.
I've never been to Chicago, never ran a marathon.
That was nice, though, the windy city. It's cold, though, in the winter. But literally, I was there once with my brother. We're in business on a business trip, and the Bulls won the championship. But anyway, and we went to Harry Carey and celebrated. It was a fun night.
That's awesome.
But we got caught up in the hoopla. No, but so you're going to go to Chicago. You're going to run with Earl Granville. Now, he really has a prosthetic leg, and you're going to do a marathon. What's going through your mind?
You know, we have a mission to, 1, start and complete this marathon. 2, I'm his guide runner. The one thing when you have someone in a prosthetic arm, leg, or whatever, it's important that they don't fall because they can get injured. So my job is to run the marathon with Earl, but also make sure that no one gets in our way or no one bumps into us. So I was honored to be there, first of all. So I mean, I'm running with my buddy Earl, who's just a great person and has done so much for not only his country, but community locally and across the states.
It's an incredible story. And I want to understand, you know, with the mission that I understand you started the race, and this is 26.2 miles. Yeah. And this is not like you're getting on the treadmill like I do a lot and running like 3 or 4 miles. Like, this is the real deal.
It's cold out.
And it's cold. Is it cold?
It was cold, yeah.
All right. And I know, I watched like the New York City Marathon. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look that hard. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. It's like 70 degrees. I'm like, that doesn't sound bad. But when you're running 26 miles or the hill, so it's windy, it's cold, and you're with, like, I'm sure, thousands and thousands of runners. Yeah. And how did it go? How did it end?
It was awesome. You know, to start, we started at We started actually before the actual marathon even started because it takes us a little bit more time. So I think we started around like 6:30 a.m. And I think the the world runners like from all across the world, they started at like maybe 8. Those guys who run marathons in 2.5 hours or less.
It's crazy.
So I'll never forget. I was running with Earl. We're running down one of those streets, whatever, and I heard it sounded like horses. And I kid you not, it's probably a couple hundred people that are like they're ultra marathon, like legit. They're going to do a marathon in 2 hours or less. And I was like, holy crap, man! These it sounded like legit horses,
like a stampede.
Yeah, stampede. It was incredible.
Is it coming from behind you?
It is coming from behind us.
It's coming. Though.
Yeah. So I'm like Earl's got his headphones, and I'm like, dude, we gotta move over, or we're gonna be run over.
You run down like a truck.
Yeah. So that was incredible. That's how we started, but we finished strong. It took us close to 8 hours to do the race.
What were the fans like? The spectators. What was that feeling like?
It was awesome. We're running with the American flag. You have the USA chant, the chant going. It was just an amazing feeling. People coming up to us, shaking our hands, thanking Earl. It was just an incredible experience. I'm so lucky that he asked me to be part of it. He's done probably about 7 or 8 marathons in his life, probably even more. But it was incredible hearing that everyone cheering you on, and they know that, what Earl stands for and what he's doing.
Warrior Strong?
We actually were representing another organization that day because they sponsored us to run, and it was cold. It was like 28 degrees.
Oh, that's cold.
And
Understood. I thought it was like maybe in the 50s. You're talking like below freezing.
Yeah, it was Columbus Day weekend in October in Chicago, and it was kind of their cold front, I guess. And we're in these T-shirts because that's what the organization. And I remember we got there at the starting line at 6 o'clock, and Earl's like, I had a hoodie on. And Earl took his hoodie off, and I'm like, he looks at me, he's like, you're taking your hoodie off, right? We got to represent. I'm like, dude,
it's cold.
It's cold out, right? Yeah, so and I was like, I just had a T-shirt on. He's like, you'll be all right. We're going to
start getting it going, get the engine going.
Yeah, so.
It's a beautiful story. So, for the listeners with Warrior Strong, I could talk Earl Granville. I got to meet this guy. I have to send him a message later today, and God bless him and all the veterans. But you're Warrior Strong, and how do they reach Warrior Strong? How do they reach you again?
So go on our website, just hit contact us. Put your
Warrior Strong Inc.
Yeah, warriorstronginc.org. You can go find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, wherever, whenever.
You're all over and God bless you. So let's talk about some of the programs too.
Yeah.
I know you guys do yoga. You have a lot of different programs.
Yeah.
And I read also you're healing the body from the inside out.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So, it starts with yourself. It starts with your mental health, but it starts with, we do a thing called Wim Hof box breathing, what's it called? Wim Hof box breathing. If you don't know Wim Hof box breathing or breathing techniques, go on YouTube, go on Google, learn about them, educate yourself on them and what it can do for your body, mind, body.
How do you do that? What's that like?
It's just, I'm not the instructor, so I don't want to.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. I just don't know the right way to explain it.
That's all good.
But it's a program that we do a couple times a week, where you're breathing in for 4, you're letting out for 4. You're doing breath holds, you're doing power breathing, you're doing things that changes the chemistry in your body. It's really remarkable stuff.
Interesting about that, what you just said. I watch a lot of other podcasts. I'm trying to hone my craft and see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed to say I'm learning as I go, like everybody else in life.
Yeah, me too.
But they talked about the importance of breathing, where breathing when you're stressed out, if you could just figure out how to get a little bit quiet and breathe the air in, hold it, let it out, it changes your whole world.
It changes everything. And honestly, the one thing I want to know too is it does matter the way you breathe, either through your mouth or through your nose. There's a big difference between breathing through your nose and your mouth your mouth or your nose, and something I learned a couple months ago too.
Breathing is it's important. People take it for granted, but some of the other programs, you have a program called the Rucks.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Rucks earlier. I didn't hikes. Stop you. What is that about?
So in the military, when you hike with a backpack on of 25, 30 pounds, it's called the ruck. In civilian world, if you just go out and hit the trails and you call it a hike, you might have a backpack on. You never thought about it before, but it's a ruck because, when you're in, you got all your gear on. It weighs more than 25 pounds, I think. And, they go ruck through wherever they're going. But we call them social networking rucks, where we bring the community together for everybody to join us for a hike, to network. We help veterans. The reason why we came up with this idea, one was COVID, and two, we work with a lot of veterans who struggle with alcohol and drug addiction. And it's tough to network with people outside of a bar. I feel like a lot of networking events, things that happen, if you're part of networking groups, they're all either at some bar or some sort of social event where there's drinking involved. This is different. You're on a hiking trail. You're moving your mind, body. You're doing everything but that, right? So that's the kind of the mission behind the Ruck With Us program, is to bring veterans together, but the community together, to learn about each other and have conversations.
So you talk about the community, like where folks are coming back, they were deployed, and they need to be part of the community.
Yeah.
I know that's so important, to be connected.
Yeah.
What are you finding, how the community responds when you have an opportunity for the community to meet the veterans and the veterans to meet their community? What's that like?
It's important. I think the more that we can get the veteran community out into the public eye, but also with the local community, and have conversations and just let them get into, because sometimes the veteran community, civilian people, we don't understand what a veteran has gone through. We're not veterans. We didn't deploy. We didn't go to war. We didn't do the things that they had to do. We didn't experience boot camp. We don't know what they've experienced. We can't relate to that, right? So what's best is to be able to be there for them. Hey, I don't know what you're going through, but maybe I can help you.
That's something, too. I think it's important for the veterans, active men and women, to know the community cares. And I think you touched on it, too.
Yeah.
No, I'm a civilian. Mm-hmm. I don't mean that in a bad way, just the way.
No, that's just.
I never had the opportunity to serve our great country, so I'll never truly understand what it's like. But I want them to know I care.
Right.
What's the response to the veterans when they know the community actually cares, that they're not forgotten? Because this is the other thing too. You can never forget the warriors, the veterans, the active service members. What's the veteran and the active duty members' responses?
I mean, it's just. They're humbled. They're happy. I think I'm very fortunate. I think, me being a civilian and coming into their community and helping them with some ideas that I've brought to the table and they followed through with. Maybe I've helped in a way where I kind of, broke the ice, where, hey, civilians aren't that bad, or hey, I can reach out and they can give me advice and they can send me to places maybe that I wouldn't know, or they could guide me to things that I wouldn't know about. So, the responses, it's been great. I think merging veterans with their local communities is a big thing that we have to do as a country, is, get these veterans out into their community, continue to help them make good decisions and help impact their community, because isolation will literally kill anyone, no matter who you are, what you do. If you isolate yourself from your community, your family, whoever, you're going to go down a dark path.
Right. So, you at A Warrior Strong, which I invite everyone to check it out. It's incredible. We talked about the rucks. You have adaptive exercise helping folks with disabilities. Yep. Delaware Water Gap hiking, a beautiful part of the state. I don't live that far from it. It's gorgeous there. Wellness retreats, mental health relief, peer-to-peer connections. You have assembled a team, though, too.
Yeah. For sure.
You're very humble. I know it's you, and you founded it, but you got a great bunch of folks behind you, and the military and the folks you're so proudly helping. It's just an incredible thing that you've done. I want to just talk briefly before we end this incredibly important show, especially on the 4th of July holiday weekend, about some of your views of what you've learned in this period of time, and how it has influenced influenced you and the message you want to leave the listeners with? What would you tell the listeners?
Well, first I want to say you can help anyone at any time, anywhere. You don't have to be anywhere specific. You don't have to join a club. You don't have to be part of anything to help somebody. And sometimes we don't realize that as humans. We might feel like we have to join a club or might have to be part of something bigger than ourselves, but you don't. You can literally help someone. You can help your neighbor. You can help someone at the park. You can give your time is more valuable than money, because sometimes an ear is worth more than $1. So my advice to people listening and who are out there who want to do help in their community, if you're passionate about something that you believe in, that you care about, go be part of it and go help that mission. It doesn't have to be veterans. It doesn't have to be first responders. It doesn't have to be, homelessness. It can be anything. If you love dogs and you want to save all the dogs, do it.
No question. And Tom, I just want to say God bless you and Warrior Strong. This organization is changing lives. Please remember this. The veterans, the active service men and women of our great country, they want to know you care. If you see someone depressed, say, listen, is everything okay? What can I do to help you? Make sure they don't feel alone. No one should ever feel alone. Folks in the military, folks just living life in general. We all know people that are sad sometimes. Lift them up. Remember that. Never take that for granted. When someone's hurting, lift them up. Come on the journey with us next week. God bless you all. And remember, we're all in this together. Take care.
The Todd Leonard Show is sponsored by the Leonard Foundation, whose mission is to support the children and families who are battling pediatric cancer and those in need of food and assistance, women's shelters, and other important social services in the community. They also proudly support those fighting pancreatic cancer. They feel it's vitally important to help those in need in our amazing community when they need us the most. Please join them in extending a helping hand and go to leonardcharity.org and donate now. Together, we can touch many lives. We can touch many lives.